You can start, ma.
Good morning. Morning, everyone. Hello? Benga?
Yes, you are
Hello?
live now, ma.
Okay, that's fine. It's okay. So do your introductions and then I can invite me and then you can talk. So you're starting the show.
Okay. Pake, over to you, sir.
Benga,
All
go
right.
ahead.
All right. Good morning, everyone. It's great to have us all here on the December edition of the Hero to Hero by Trustees of True Riches. And with us here is one of our amazing fellows, engineer Mrs. Aramide Adeyoye. She'll be speaking to us about living a life of purpose and staying in your God-given vineyard. Engineer Mrs. Aramide has over 3.5 decades of working experience and have spanned through across various industries and eventually settled with the public service before she started running her own business. We're going to be learning a lot from her, and we're going to be seeing life from her own lens. Can we welcome Engineer Mrs. Aramide? Thank you, ma.
Morning. Thank you, Benga. A very good morning, fellows of TOTR, mentees, and all in the studio this morning. It's a Saturday morning, so when you see somebody come wanting to stay on the show, it really has to be exciting and worth the while. And I pray that at the end of the day, it's really worth everyone's while. Let me start by acknowledging every past fellow that has given a talk, the previous speakers on this platform. My sister, the maiden edition, my sister, Mrs. Adedibu, my neighbor, my former neighbor, my sister, my friend, Mrs. Adedibu, and then Mr. Adigun himself, Bake, as well as my sister as well, another sister of mine, Lola Amao, engineer Mrs. Amao. A very good job you've all done. God bless you all for your labor of love. My prayer is that the good Lord will reward each and every one of us. And at the end of the day, that labor of love over the next generation will not be in vain, and it will really enrich them and give fruitful results. So where do I start from? First and foremost, today is it's an exciting day for me. My late dad, Mr. Mutari Akombi-Animashaun, will have been 91 today. So for me, it's symbolic that I'm having to speak about parental influence on a day like this. That was a man, he lived his life for God and for his children. He taught me the values. Most of the things that I learned them at an early age because of his influence. My mom is still alive, Mrs. Simbiata Akombi-Animashaun. She's alive, she's 86 plus, but my dad will have been posthumously 91 today. I remember him with joy in my heart. The Bible tells us the memory of the just is blessed. Even though my dad I was born and raised a Muslim, my mom is still an Alaja, but my dad, a very liberal man, even though he was a Muslim, he opened his heart to God, to listen to the word of God. And he would often fellowship with me, come with me to church or service, open the scriptures, expound it to him. Anything that made his children happy, that was a very liberal man. So I must thank God for his life and for him today. I'm here today because of the grace of God and because of his influence, largely his influence. So I'll go to the events around before I was born. In those days, it was not unusual to find parents go work outside of the states in their enclave, so they worked in conglomerates like maybe Guinness, PZ, all of those, the foreign conglomerates then before independence. So my dad worked for one of them, GB Olivant, and then they had to go to Ibadan. And from Ibadan, they moved over to Port Harcourt. So I was actually conceived in Port Harcourt, but came over to Lagos. When the war broke out, they moved over to Lagos. I was born some 1967, some 56 years ago. But before I was born, I had 4 of my sisters who are all girls. All girls. And so that's why I said today it's an exciting day for me. It's only now that it's almost like a cliche. Everybody talks about women folk emancipation, women's rights, and all of the rest, empowering the girl child. This was my dad, who never entered or saw the 4 walls of a school, knew what it was to train a girl child. So with a wife that you have had 4 girls, and here you are again, your wife tells you she's pregnant and then you then have the child. It turns out to be a girl as well. So my mom was extremely sad when she had me. But this was my dad, who was unperturbed. It's like, well, every child is a gift from God, and every child is unique in their own. So whatever God gives you, take it. And he will often say it that God will not give you everything complete. So some oranges, if it's lemon is giving you, squeeze it and get out lemonades. It will not give you everything complete. Oh, le fipa lowo, oh, le fipa lomo, oh, le fipa lola. That was his usual saying. It's except God gives you. And so at birth, my mom cried, but the doctor then told my mom that this child is unique. I can see her. Coincidentally, when I was born, I had 6 fingers. So I was not like any normal child. I had 6 fingers, and the Yoruba tradition, when you have a child that has 6 fingers, they tell them they're unusual children, that anything they touch turns gold, that they have an aura with wealth. And so there are some superstitious sayings in the Yoruba parlance that tells you that this is an unusual child. And indeed, I was unusual. From that age on, my mom also knew that I was an unusual child. And my father did speak it to me every now and then. The way I was determined, I was focused. I very much, my age, I lived very much way above my age, the way I would relate with people. I was the last of my mom's girls. So I had a lot of responsibility weighed on me. My mom will often say, find out why, as parents, and I always encourage people, there's a uniqueness to every child. Find out why, what is unique, what manner of child is this? Mana, even in the Bible, what kind of children do we have? So you must find out what has God given you. So my early years, my dad, like I said it earlier, he never saw the 4 walls of a classroom, but he trained himself. He was somebody who developed himself. He so much developed himself that his friends who went to formal school, who were engineers, who were doctors, the way they related with him, you could not believe that my father never saw the 4 walls of a school. He believed in self-development. So even so much so, he didn't go to school, but he told himself, my children will go to the school that I never went, the best of the schools that I never went or I never saw. And that's exactly what he did till his last breath. I attended Yewande Memorial School. That's a private primary school in Surulere in James Robertson. I was born and raised in Shita. Anybody who knows Shita is in Surulere. So Shita has the good, the bad, and the ugly. But my mother was able to raise 7 beautiful children in the environs of Shita. 3 doctors, 3 engineers, and a banker. My mother she was not a teacher, but she was a strict disciplinarian. You could not, there was no hiding place for you with my mom. You needed to do the things that you were supposed to do. Reading your books, being focused, being of good character was important for her. My dad actually made it, he told my mom when she got married to say, you know what? You do not need to walk and you do not need to lift a finger. The assignment or responsibility that I have for you is to train these children in the fear of the Lord. You do not need to walk. What you will eat, what you will drink, till you will die, I will provide. That's what he did till he breathed his last breath. So I took on leadership roles at a very early age. I had a dad who would set goals and targets for you to say, Aramide, I don't want your position to be more than 3 this time. And once you achieve it, there was a supermarket then in those days. I think it was at Akerele Junction. So my school was along James Robertson, and James Robertson Surulere would tee off into Akerele. So there was Leventi. So there was a Leventi supermarket at Akerele Junction. Once you met your target, he would always keep his word. He will take you out on shopping. You will pick the best of clothes that you want and your dress, your biscuits, your sweets, everything that a child desired, you would have it. But you must make sure that you make that mark. What he has told you, your score, your grades, in your subjects, it was maths, English, religious knowledge then, everything. So the grades, he will tell you, you must not exceed this, and that's it. At the end of each time, today is December, then we had the January to December school calendar. So every December was time to report card. You bring it up, you meet the targets, there was a reward. And that made you aspire to do more. So from an early age, I learned to be disciplined. I learned to be focused. I learned to take on leadership roles at those early ages. And that, of course, took me on into secondary school. I attended Methodist Girls High School, Yaba. It was a purely Christian school, a missionary school, Methodist. My dad, like I said, his desire for education, wanting his children to be the best. It found out that which school could I take my children to that they could learn morals, values, still be their best. He had the option of Queen's College or Methodist. He said, no, I would do the missionary one. I would do Methodist Girls High School. And so Methodist Girls High School, I went. While there, I was tops. I was tops so much so that I had a nickname. Everybody would call me Cambridge in school. Cambridge, the nickname in Cambridge came because my dad had this series of books, Cambridge questions, that they came in red, ash gray, and blue. They will prepare you ahead for the Cambridge exams. So my colleagues in school would see me with those questions, and they were in series year by year, past questions. So they used to call me Cambridge and Oxford. That's what my colleagues used to call me in Methodist Girls, because I was very studious, very focused. But we also had a neighbor. We had a neighbor who was the past chairman of ICANN. She was an accountant, Mrs. Oshiemi. She's still alive. So our house was next door to us. And she was always fond of greeting my father, who was much years older than her. I would say, Panima Shang, good morning, sir. I've been observing your children. There is one that I really like. I see her every day on her way to school. But, she can be an accountant and this. But within me, I knew what I wanted, even at that age. Why? Because somebody was influencing me. Who was influencing me? My dad had a late friend, and the late engineer Adeoye Fora. He used to be a port engineer. Nigerian, he built their Papa port than the Lagos port. And he used each time that he came, and he would share, he would also talk with me. And it's like, Aramide is a smart girl. I wish she can be an engineer. And I asked, what do engineers do? And he would tell me. So from that early age, I knew what I wanted. I wanted to be an engineer. I wanted to do something that I could solve a problem. People could see it, solve people's problems, societal problems, provide solutions. And that was it for me. And so that, even when Mrs. Oshiemi would convince my dad to say, your daughter can be a very good accountant. I say, when I was going to take my JAMB form, I took my JAMB form. I did my science subjects, the same physics, chemistry, and maths. Coincidentally, I was the best female JAMB student in 1982. But I was determined I was going to do engineering. So I got into University of Lagos at a tender age of 15. There was nothing Mr. Oshiemi did not do to make me read accountancy, but here I was, my mind made up, I wanted to read engineering. So my question is, who is mentoring you? And what do you desire to become? Who is mentoring you to a large extent determines what you want to be in the future, what you want to be. And I'm grateful and happy that my late dad's friend actually spurred me on at that age. But all of the virtues that my dad had instilled in me from those early years was able to tell Dove in the university. Coming in at age 15, so many of us came in at 15 from QC, from KC, very the top of the best from those schools coming into Unilag. So that class was a leveler for me. Leveler, so you had somebody with 6, so it was the aggregate of the 7 A's, the 8 A's, the 6 A's, everybody. So it was champions of champions that would come meet in that prelim class. So I came into the prelim. I was 15 when I came in. But the character traits that had been instilled in me that were there did help me develop. So I was diligent in my work, in my studies. Very focused, the tenacity was there. And of course, what was critical was the resistance to peer pressure. I saw so many of my classmates that we came in together who, for one reason or the other, peer pressure made them lose focus. Some had to repeat class. Some had to change courses and go do chemistry or dropped engineering for computer science. Some had to transfer to other universities and go retake JAMB because by the time the grades were not coming up, the GPA was coming so low, they couldn't continue the engineering class. But like I said, the diligence, the tenacity, and the focus that I'd learned from the early years of my upbringing did stand me in good stead. One good thing that comes to mind, the current MD of Cresta Laura was my classmate in school. And I recollect those days that I would sing very early when Moremi Hall. All my 5 years in university, I stayed in Moremi Hall. Anybody who knows what Moremi Hall is, then and even now will tell you that if you're not a disciplined person, there's every tendency for you to be distracted. But every time that I see this gentleman coming when Moremi Hall opens at 4 in the afternoon to when the doors are closed at 10 or 11, I would ask to say, boy, what are you doing here? I'm sure your parents, when they get to know what this is what you're doing, they'll be highly disappointed in you. And the way I used to speak, not until about 6, 7 years ago, when he realized that he was much, much way older than me, he said, the way you've always been in university, you did like an elderly person talking to us like small children, and they did for us to behave ourselves. And I said, well, I was younger than you. I needed to develop a mechanism where people will not say I'm the youngest and they will treat me as such. So it was something that I had to do, and I learned to do it very well. So I progressed in the university, finished my studies, and then it was time to work. While at the university, I was a golf scholar. I had the golf Chevron. It was called GOCON then, Golf Corporation of Nigeria. It's now Chevron now. So I was a golf scholar. I also was on the bursary. I was on the bursary of Lagos State. So I had, this was me. So I had several scholarships while in university. And when I finished, Chevron also offered me a job. There was Kakawa in Tinubu Square then. They offered me a job. But here I was. I knew what I wanted. I was focused and I was determined. I said something, who is mentoring you? What do you want to become? In my mind, I wanted to be an engineer, a civil engineer for that matter. I knew what I wanted. It wasn't electrical, it wasn't mechanical. I wanted to be a civil engineer because I said I wanted to build bridges. I asked him, I said, can I build? So apart from the ports, the roads, the bridges, they're all the things that are civil engineering. He said, yes. I said, that's exactly what I wanted to do. And so the choice between whether you want to work for Golf Corporation of Nigeria or whether you want to work for Julius Berger, that option came up. And of course, I didn't waste time. I took the Julius Berger option. More so when at that time, the late chairman for Julius Berger was my uncle, Uncle I.S. May God bless his soul, the late Uncle I.S. Madewale. So as I finished, I actually served with Julius Berger. And by the time I finished serving, my appointment was waiting for me, so it was a transition. I then came in as a people engineer. Then it was easy to get jobs then. As soon as you graduated, serve, and then your employment was there. It was not as bad as this. And I did that, and when it was time while I was in Julius Berger, the first thing I noticed, I looked at the setup when I came in, and I told myself, in this environment, I think I would like to do things differently. What I have is I have my brain, I have my skill sets. I don't have to do things what people do. And so from day one, I got entrepreneurial. I got entrepreneurial that if I was not working, I would always do something to enhance my performance and to create extra income for me. Most of the projects that I did in my private capacity, I did them very, very early in my early years before I was 35. I graduated, I was 15, like I said, when I graduated. At 20, I was already a graduate. So it was a 5-year engineering course. At 20, by the time I was 35, I'd done most of the private jobs I would do in my capacity as an engineer. And so when it was also time to do career switch, after working for about 22 years, I felt like I wanted something else. More so when I'd been denied promotion to the full management level, because then my bosses felt I was very young. They didn't believe that, I could come in to that prestigious cadre at that time. And so that dampened my morale, and I was very unhappy. In the process, I decided, I was going to switch jobs. I actually had an offer from Lafarge. They headhunted me, interviewed me, gave me the offer. But typical of me, anything that I don't commit to God, I don't like taking it up. Even in this instance, because I did not hear from God, expressly from God. When I had the appointment letter, I kept it. until the HR director from Lafarge would call me to say, Madam, it's been a month that we gave you this offer of appointment and you're not responding and you're not. Besides, you are the only one that they headhunted that didn't need to go to interview through me. It was even the MD, the group MD from the worldwide group that interviewed you, and they took you. So I told her, I said, well, would you want me to come in so that you could be convinced who you want to head on? And so I actually went to the office in Ikoyi. She did interview me. And then she said, well, I should name it that she's listening to me. And obviously, I know what I want. And she'll be happy to work with me on board in Lafarge. But that whatever I want, if I didn't like the remuneration they were offering me, I was free to choose what I wanted. So I replied after about 1 week to say, well, I'm sorry, I would not be able to take up that appointment because I've not heard from God. And it looks like it will be difficult for me to move. I don't leave my vineyard when God has not said so. So that was how I stopped. I stayed back in Julius Berger. And after that year, in 2018, the management then decided that this woman was due for this promotion. I had that promotion. I enjoyed it for a year before public service, transfer to public service would come up. And so I was in public service for 4 years, and thereafter I came back again, and here I am, doing what I know how to do best, into full entrepreneurship, what I've always done. But while in that public service, what stood for me are the same character traits that I'd imbibed right from childhood, that my father had inculcated in me. That's exactly what has stood me till today. Everything else that you do, there are add-ons. Whether fulfillment, whether in fulfilling, having a sense of fulfillment, saying you want to go to business school, saying that you want to. So of course I went to business school. I went after doing engineering, go to business school, decide to have a career also in arbitration, public service. Those are things that you keep doing to develop yourself. But above all, you must learn, mind your father's business. I keep saying something, do not leave your vineyard. That vineyard where God has positioned you is important. It's important because if you do not do it, you'll find out that you're just lost. You might have success, supposed success, but it's not a success with fulfillment. So in minding your father's business, you must have personal time. Inquire, what does God, what would you have me do? What would you have me put my hand into? Building a God-centric family, making your family work for God in all the things that you do, experiencing God all the time. Do not leave your vineyard. And I keep saying it, the story of Citadel is because I listened to God. It's because I didn't leave my vineyard. My working in the public service is because I yielded to God. I did not leave his vineyard. I kept working, I kept asking, God, what would you have me do? So you don't go on a frolic of your own and decide this job, somebody is offering me this job, I just must jump at it. It's not about the money. God will speak to you in advance, where you are going to, the place you are going to, what manner of men and women are there. What are the things that you must look out for? And so once you know what your calling is, staying in it, you will find a sense of fulfillment. I know what my calling is right from day one. Thank God for the kind of dad that I had. It's always love to attend to the needy, the elderly and the vulnerable. My father could give himself out. He had the Yorubas here. My father had an oriki. They would say money asherebi enigo. So you would do good things. You would do things as if you were a stupid man. I'm trying to interpret it in the Yoruba parlance. Asherebi enigo. So he's not doing it because he's stupid, but that's just his nature. That's his nature of his goodness. And indeed was a good man. May God bless his soul. So those were the character traits that you must learn. I always tell people in life, some truths, whether the audience that is listening to me now, because it's a diverse audience, I can tell you all of the things. I can tell you 101 things you must do if you want to be an engineer. I will want as many people to be engineers. But not all of us will be engineers. People will choose different career paths. But one thing is clear, there's some fundamental life truths they remain unchangeable. Learning in life, that's 3 stages to life. The learning stage, which is just acquisition of knowledge and skills. You go through course of study, whatever it is, you experience it, either they teach you formally or informally. There's a learning stage. There's always a learning stage. And of course, you then move on to your growth stage. By your growth stage, you begin to grow. So you must have somebody who is mentoring you. Who is mentoring? Look for godly men and women who will mentor you so that you are on the straight path. And of course, in the process, you might, if you do not have good mentors, you're likely to miss it. There's some things, experience is the best teacher. Yes, I understand. But you can move faster and swiftly when you have good mentors. And of course, you then consolidate. Whatever you have learned while learning, while growing with good mentors, you can consolidate so that you can then be a blessing to the next generation. As in that consolidation stage, what you're looking for will come looking for you. I tell people, it's as it is here, it is also true in engineering. If you do not learn and you suddenly want to play in the growth stage or in the consolidation phase, you are likely to burn your fingers. So if you see a young man who has graduated from school, who says, oh, I can take on this assignment or responsibility without any experience, requisite experience to it, you get your hands blown off. While in the consolidation phase, what you're not looking for looks for you. You just see people give you a call. Ma'am, there is a challenge somewhere. Would you be willing to help us to solve this one? It naturally, it comes in. It is very, very natural. And your advice works like wonders because you're speaking from experience. You're bringing your experience to bear. What you're not looking for comes meeting you. Sometimes that experience that you're offering, money cannot quantify it. And even when they say they want to pay you, it pays your salary of 3-4 years in just 1 month. So I always tell people, those fundamental life truths, we must never run away from them. We should not, and we must never run away from them. They help to give people direction, sense of direction as to where they're going, what it is, and when you get it, you catch it. It's better for everyone. So that for me is what I would say. I would say that people must imbibe whatever your choice of career, engineering, tech, law. Do not skip any of these 3 processes. Skipping it is hazardous, and it will not make you find a sense of fulfillment. Next slide, please, Benga. I think the next slide will be fine with me. So the governing, I tell people also, apart from this, one of the things that has helped me in my career path is to live your life based on 4 principles. On integrity, integrity and living it a life of purpose. 4 of them: integrity, purpose, excellence, and passion. Anybody who knows me knows that I cherish my integrity. I like to put my things in it's like a signature. If I put my things there, I'm be sure about it. I'm not God. I aspire to be Jesus-like, but my trait is anything that is not worth living for is not worth dying for. Money is not everything, but that integrity will stand for you. Several times people, I might not, and I'll give instances. When I was in business school, about 20 years ago, I was in a hurry to go to school, and I sent my driver or somebody to collect money from the bank. So, but because I was in a hurry, I was going to enter class. I told the person, the account officer, I said, my driver is coming. Please help me to give the person a 6. I meant a 600 because I was entering, I couldn't say. So the person gave, and I said one of my drivers was coming and will give you the instruments so that you could package the money because it's a Friday and I will not, in business school, 2 o'clock, and I was go slow. This was the time when Lagos Business School, very far off. Lo and behold, the account officer packaged a 6 million. I'm talking of 20 years ago. Packaged the 6 million and gave to the driver. When the instrument came, it was 600,000. So by the time he told the bank manager, and of course, because I was entering business class in school, your phones will be switched off. When he saw the instrument figure and he saw this, the young man was confused. It's like, oh my God, I gave a 6 million instead of a 600,000. So he went to report himself to the bank manager. So the bank manager told him, he said, if it is that woman, and you say you cannot get her, be rest assured, your money will come. It's good for people to be able to predict you. It's good to have integrity. Several times I might not, if I just tell somebody, just go there, tell them you're from me. They will tell you if it's that woman, don't worry. It's important that we, in life, that people must be able to say, what do we stand for? What do we represent? It will stand us in good stead in years to come. And so purpose is what I've said earlier. I grew up in an environment, a family of 9, 7 children, 5 girls, the 5th of them. I keep saying I'm a child of grace, but I knew what my purpose was. I knew what my calling was. So the question is, why are you existing? You must have a purpose. Why has God, even with riches, we're in trustees of true riches. This money that you have, what is God telling you to do with it? What is he asking you to do? The moment you realize that you are just a steward, it is not for you. The way you look at success begins to change. What drives you or what motivates you begins to change. So you must be purposely driven. Of course, excellence is one watchword. People will tell you, and I tell people who have had course that I mentor, anything that is not worth doing well, don't even start it. When I went into public service and I had to work in a ministry where, and then with the anyhowness of we as Nigerians, it was a culture shock, knowing what I stood for, knowing my background, what I've always liked to do. But with the grace of God, I institutionalized some quality assurance into their processes. I told them, you cannot continue to do like this. It cannot be business as usual. You have to work excellently well. The things you do not know how to do, you must learn them. New skills, you must learn them. You must work excellently well. How do people perceive you? How is your environment like? And to the glory of God, I succeeded. One of the things that I did was, even I do not listen to. So when people tell me, I said, your environment speaks volumes about who you are. What kind of environment are you operating in? How is your entrance foyer looking like? So I told them, I said, we have to revive and change this entrance foyer of the ministry. And so the design for it, I asked the works department to come up with a design, did 1 or 2 amendments, and then appraised it, and then said, we'll go ahead. When they did it, the comments that I got in passing the design is like, this woman thinks that she's working in a bank, and she wants to come and change us in Alausa. You want to change this whole environment, this facade. But anybody who knows Alausa very well, who's always had who knows how the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure used to be and how it is now, from your entrance foyer, at least up until 6 months ago, from entrance foyer, you just know that there's something different about this building. You come in, the ambience is different from any other ministry there. So also it is with the staircase, the aisle. For 48 years, that building has been in existence for almost 50 years. The slopes, the risers, the noses, the treadings, and the risers of the steps there, very, very steep and uncomfortable. And then I told my team, I said, can you people explain to me what exactly has made this place like this for close to 50 years? They said, I said, it can be done. And we took that challenge together. And today, a new aisle is standing. Even when there is no light and you do not have to walk to go in the pad, in the lift, you can go on that aisle, the staircase, and still be able to transact your business. So what am I saying? you can work in an excellent manner. The floors on the 6th floor, the 5th floor, the 4th floor, all of the engineering floors, the level for the engineers and the staff. I said, why do you work in offices that look like Duncan Stable? Why? Can we not improve on this? And so we took it up as a challenge to do that. What had not been done in years. They've had several commissioners and SAs work in that ministry. I asked them, I said, can you give me a very good reason why this is like this? Let us set goals and targets for us that will tackle the 6th floor, 5th floor, 4th floor. And by the time I was going, all of the offices had been done. And then they came back, the feedback, they said, Madam, it has actually improved our morale. Even the way people come and relate with us, the environment that they see us working has been improved. I said, so why did it take this long? So what am I saying? That excellent spirit must come to bear in everything that we do. Even for Citadel, it's the same thing. Given the brief of pastor, who we are, what we must do, people will tell you that building from outside stands uniquely different. From far off, you see it. It's an excellent spirit in everyone who is from CGGC. It's a spirit. And if you are in, you catch it. So passion is another thing that I always say. There's success ingredients. If you have this 4, and you're able to follow the 3 stages that I earlier mentioned, there is no reason why you cannot be a successful person, man or woman. It's a very powerful feeling. It's a strong interest. People will tell you that I'm passionate about infrastructure, even from the way I talk, what exactly we must do, how we must do it, the steps or the procedures that we put in place. What if what is not going right, what we have to do, the timelines that we do it. There's a voice, your voice speaks for you. The passion that you bring to bear, how you do it, how you translate it into action. You cannot have done all of this once and you not make success of your entire career life. So the next slide. Like I said, we are all stewards. When people tell me, oh, what success? I tell people my success of definition is not the number of figures, your bank account, how many zeros are behind it. No, I tell people that success for me is not the number of size of your bank account. It's not how popular you are. As a matter of fact, I am somebody I abhor. I do not like the social media. I'm a very, very private person. I was forced to come out of my shell because I had to take public service. But very private person. My family, my personal life is something that I cherish. I don't like to expose my children, my family to that. If I have to go on social media, I will. But as much as possible, your family is your family. Your private life is your private life. Success is not about the size of your bank account. We often miss it because these days the young ones who they look up to maybe the Davidos, the size of their bank accounts. They want to be on the Forbes list. They want the number of houses that they have in Banana, in Ikoyi, mansions everywhere. No, your riches, if you are blessed, the portrait of a blessed man. If you are indeed blessed, it's not all of those ones. Blessings will come. They will overtake you. They will pursue you and overtake you. It's not the size of your bank account. It's how much impact you're able to make in people's lives. In your sphere of influence, how much impact are you doing there? How are you trying to change the narrative in that space? That for me is the portrait of a blessed man, is the portrait of a successful man. That is not to say riches don't come, but when the riches come, how do you identify that these riches they're not meant for you? It's not no, they're not all for you. The Lord is asking you to do something with it. And you tell yourself, how would you be a blessing to your generation? So reputational integrity is key. Even in your career growth or life, it's important. How do people perceive you? How does God perceive you? What's the opinion of God about you? Your reputational integrity and how impactful are you in your sphere of influence are things for me that define success and not the size of a bank account. Next slide. For the women, I know that a lot of women might probably be on this platform. So in your career path, there's some things that I always say, the things to watch out for. To be a success, you must have a partner that believes in you. You must have a partner who is like a wings, so the wings beneath you, so that you can fly. You must have a partner who can take the flak for you. You must have a partner who can take the slack. My husband is indeed one. And I wish that so many people, I tell people, if you want to be successful, particularly for women, pray that you have an husband who can take that slack for you. My husband is one, and I never hesitate to say that aside from God, my husband is one person, is my greatest encourager. He's always been beside me. He's like, girl, you can do it. He's always encouraging me, even when I think that, oh, you can do it. Is it not you? You can do it. So for the ladies, you must be conscious while doing that the balls of family, of marriage, or career, there are three balls that you must keep throwing up in the air. So at some point in time, you might not be able to throw all of them to the same height. In the early years, it's your family. So the ball of family is up in the air. Marriage is also up. So it starts with marriage, it starts with the family. Career then begins to, so the height of the ball of the career begins to go up and up. And then at some point in time, career might supersede even family or marriage. You struggle, it's a struggle, but you find a way to balance it all. But one thing I must tell you is ensure that none of the balls is on the ground at any point in time. It's important that none of the balls is on the ground, on the flat ground. There is always, at the end of it all, there is always a family to go back to. Work will always end. The honor, all of the accolades, one day you will leave office. But there is always a family, a marriage, and home to go to. When you have dropped that ball of family, of marriage on the ground, there will be nobody to run to. So I always encourage women in the quest for success, for your career path, for growth, do not forget to ensure that none of those balls fall onto the ground, flat. So next. So even if you do not remember anything that I've said in the last 50 minutes or 55 minutes, there are about 50 minutes of, I have 5 nuggets that are, for me, they are like, it's like a Bible roadmap. Ponder over them. Each time that you ponder them, you will see the essence in them. And they do help, they guide. I keep telling people, jobs are not scarce. Only faithful men are lacking. Nigerians lack a lot of faithful men. The day that we have enough faithful men on various mountains, this nation will change for good. And as many men and women who will be faithful, who will work uprightly, with integrity, with purpose, with an excellent spirit, and with a passion, then you have gotten it right. Nigeria has gotten it right. The second thing I will say is your life is a mirror. What do people see? Do they see one thing on the outside, and then when you are inside, do you do another thing? Your life must always be a mirror that anytime people look at it, people must always see that what you are inside is what you are outside. It must be able to reflect the same. So you're not one thing outside and another thing inside. Your life must be a mirror. And when people see the goodness, as a child of God, people will see there's a light. The Bible tells us clearly that you cannot light a lamp and then you hide it. People will see that light, that glory will radiate. And people must see it reflect even in the mirror. The third thing I will say is godly contentment is great gain. The loss for love, for money, for riches, it is never enough. The Bible is clear. It tells you some things are never enough. Barren woman, fire, the grave. It consumes, it gulps. It's never enough. So there is a limit. Do not get me wrong. Riches are good, but we must not lust for it to the extent that it will cause us sorrow. Godly contentment is great gain. In it, if you are content, you'll be satisfied. You'll be a blessed man. And the riches of God is the one that it doesn't add sorrow. It comes easy. You do not need to struggle. Imbibe the practice of, the fourth one is imbibe the practice of delayed gratification. It will always open doors for you. Always, always, always. These days, the young ones, you know, everyone is in a hurry. Maybe it's where we do things. People will say, no, I tell people, the Nigerian culture is one that people will always say, thank you. So it's not as if you have come from the moon and you do not, people won't say thank you and you just drive them away. But what I always tell people is, imbibe spirit of delayed gratification. When somebody wants to come and give you something, when you know the person has not even done his or her work, morally it is wrong. It also does not, it limits your impetus, the ability to correct that person when that person is doing what is wrong. Is no longer there. And so what I encourage people is, why don't you let this person do the work? Let this person do the work, and then let this person do the work, and then you can then come back. If the person comes back, you are satisfied and happy with the work that person has done. And the Holy Spirit tells you, this indeed is a free will offering. It's not laden with poison. And you know that, okay, it is good, the person has satisfactorily worked. Then you can take the gift. But when the person has not worked, please, please, please tell the person to go away. It's always important. If we all imbibe this, we will go a long way as a nation and as a people. What the world is waiting for is a manifestation of the sons of God in every mountain, on every mountain, in our spheres of influence. It's the world, that's what the world is waiting for. In your little corner, making a difference, changing the narrative. It is possible, it's doable. And it's the critical mass of people who are willing and ready to change the narrative, are ready to do this. Indeed, Nigeria is very much at the corner. The Federal Republic of New Nigeria is very much at the corner. And on that note, I would like to say thank you for listening, all of you. So we'll go to answers and questions. So maybe first the audience, while I then come, or maybe if you want me to, the ones that have been posted, the comments, I can. Okay. Okay, so I listened to Temitope Makalen. You said, what wisdom nuggets will you want young people who have plans to go into public service? Oh, that's the nuggets I just shared. I shared it. I shared it already. Those are the nuggets. Jobs are not scarce. Faithful men are the ones that are lacking. Diligence. And if you are diligent, the Bible is very clear. Thou finds a man who is diligent in his works. You will stand before kings and not mere men. My coming to public service, I was never a civil servant. I was never a politician. It was my diligence that got me to where I was as an immediate special advisor to the governor on works and infrastructure. It was my diligence. People will tell me, even now that I'm outside of government, people will tell me, I get averagely on every day, even when I've left government for the past 6 months. If I do not get comments and texts in a day, it is 1. Sometimes I get up to 5 from different people from different spheres of life telling me, thank you for the work you have done for Lagos State. Thank you, because you chose to make a difference. Because you chose to change the narrative. Because from day one you were intentional. Because from day one you were purposeful. So even though I knew it was a tenure job, from day one, I set my goals. What exactly do I want to achieve when I say I'm going? How do I want to change the narrative? When I got in, as soon as I got in, they told me, oh, madam, there was so much money, this. I said, the young ones who you want to send on, and I'm not a boss that would send people on assignments and you will not be able to give them the tools to work. Whatever you have in the kitty, go and use it to get their project vehicles for them so that they will be able to work efficiently. In terms of tools for them, how would you ask engineers in this day and time when they don't have working tools? Whatever you have to give them as working tools, please ensure that you get them for them. And I'm very intentional, I'm very deliberate, I'm on their neck that these tools has to be given to them. As many one, and I tell people, it's only my God that is perfect. Only God is perfect. No man is perfect. It's only my God that is good. So you will definitely find some people who will not like your style, your work style. I recollect when I first got into ministry, my first trip, when I went on inspections, I said the quality assurance policies of this ministry will be ramped up. If there was any contractor who was not willing to comply, that person should go and look for work elsewhere. I was very, very clear about it. It was something that looked strange, but in the process, I did step on toes, but I was deliberate that this will be the quality assurance policy of this ministry going forward. I was not ready to compromise on that. My integrity was on the line. People who knew me for who I was not ready to do something else different. So you must be willing to pay the price. That's where I'm going. So if you ask to say, what are the, be diligent. In the course of your diligence, people will find you out. And I'm happy it's beginning to happen in the public service. 2 years ago, there was a young man from the Ministry of Budget who wrote an app. That app is one, they've adopted that app now. And then he had a double promotion because they recognized that he represented something different. And he was encouraged and rewarded. And there's something now that the present administration that Mr. Governor is doing. It's called the Lateef Jakonde Leadership Academy, to say that they must look for fast track progress. So it's not business as usual for as many people who are ready to differentiate themselves. What exactly must we do? So there's a leadership academy that they have put up. There's a leadership academy that they have put up now for people so that they can actually fast track their growth. It's on now. Entries, they take entries every year. They go through a lot of screening, and when you qualify, they then take them in so that they can understand what leadership is all about. And that's the only way we can transform our civil service. That's the only way the change can come. So he said, how did you balance excellence at work with excellence at home? Tough one, but I did survive. The boss was, so let me give you life story. Because 11 o'clock, my earliest time that I get home while in public service, and when I held that post, Monday to Saturday is work day. I'm actually in the background where I am. I'm actually in my office. My office is some minutes away from my house. It's 2 minutes away from my house. So my husband is one, so it's a balance. So I have a husband who's very private, and that's why I've used to be a boisterous person, very boisterous person. But because I married somebody who is very private, so I learned to moderate my boisterousity and then comport myself, and gradually we both blended. So I imbibed that privacy from him. But where am I going? My husband doesn't like pressure on the home front. Bringing files in, and then he doesn't like it. Staff coming in everywhere. So when you come into the house, it's a sanctuary. Your home is your home. So for these 4 years that I had the job, what did I do? I then had an office near my house. Well, it was 2 minutes away from my house. So my staff could meet me in that office. I could walk there. So everywhere around me was wired. All of the Wi-Fi, all of the broadbands everywhere. Because I knew that my phone could ring in the dead of the night, informing that there has to be an inspection, or Mr. Governor could call to say, he could ask for any data. The data needs to be up on your head or on your system, and you needed to access it. Or there was something requiring you to work immediately on. So what I did was, my children were lucky at the time I took that job. I have two children, two men, ages 31 and 33. So quite grown. So everybody could at least sort themselves. My husband learned in this period to open the fridge and warm things for himself, because oftentimes you were on inspection Monday to Saturday. Sunday you would go to church, from church you were going right again on inspection. So it was a life of no rest for the 4 years. There was no moment of rest. So I always advise people going to public service, one thing must be sure is you must have the home support. What is critical is home support. It will be an advantage if your children are fully grown like mine. But even when they are not fully grown, that home support is critical. There must be somebody who can take the flak for you. I just said it all. My husband learned in this period to warm food by himself. Just make sure it is there. It will warm. As against somebody who would do the thing for him when I didn't have that hyper job. But it was not too different from the job that I had when I was in Julius Berger. For 32 years when I worked for Julius Berger was a 7 to 6. But I was also entrepreneurial right from day one when I was in JBN. So even though I would finish my work, I had other things I was doing on the private line. And the earliest time I would close, even when I was in JBN, that I would get home would probably be about 10:30 to 11 any day. So it was not too different from what I was doing before. The only difference was that the Sunday aspect of it, or the impromptuness of every time that you don't know what is coming. Lagos is a bustling state, and things happen on the go. You do not know what the next disaster thing that would happen that you'll have to manage. What infrastructure would be critical that something will happen to that then becomes an issue. So that was what was missing. But in terms of timing and the intensity of it, I think it's the same as when I was in JBN. With the high inflation economy, the focus right now is on survival and the means of getting money to be like, how I put balance external pressure with fulfillment. I will always tell people, see, stand for something. Pressure will always be there. God is the one that it truly blesses without adding sorrow. High inflation will not, you must have extra income. I said something from day one when I got into JBN. I told myself, I have my skill set. I'm an engineer. So I'm trained to do something. Design-wise, execution-wise, construction-wise. So I went into a lot of construction. My first 15 years. I did most of my private jobs in my first 15 years. And I always say something to the glory of God. Before I was 25, post 2-3 years after I graduated, I was already a millionaire. But for me, millions that was not what was my focus. What was driving me? I just wanted to make an impact. So pressure, inflation will always be there. Famine will always be there. Decline economy, even the Bible was there. Egypt, there was famine. Yet people flourished. People flourished in Goshen. It must be that you tell yourself, I said something, living a life of purpose, not ready to compromise. Stay truthful. Imbibe the principles of delayed gratification, not instantaneous. Do something for people. Let them learn to come and say, oh, this person represents something different. This person was nice to me. And you see them when they realize that, oh, can that still be people like that? People go all the way when they're impressed to even give you over and above what you probably have even demanded for. If at all you did not want to imbibe that principle of delayed gratification and you wanted it instantaneously. It will open doors for you. You will send somebody. There are times that I've asked somebody, people have come to say, or my children come to say, they went somewhere. And when they said, oh, I'm an adult, they will say, is this person your mom? If it is your mom, then it's okay, consider it done. So it will open doors and it's unquantifiable. So I do not subscribe to the fact that inflation, no, that's not what should be pushing you. God's pocket. There is nothing, no famine is enough to dent God's pocket. You just must learn to spend from his pocket, from Jehovah's pocket. In this period that they say there is famine, people are still thriving. You just must ask God to open your eyes. I have a PA in this period that she's worked with me. She's done a master's. She's currently doing another one. She's entrepreneurial. From the little thing that she's diligent as she's doing, people see her working with me, and they're even advising her that once you finish this master's, it's good that you go and open an entrepreneurial shop so that you can begin to do this thing that we've seen you doing by the sideline. It's just for people, ask God to open your eyes of opportunity so that you can see the goodness in the land that can actually fetch you money. So, is there another question? So find career mentors. So what do you want to become? Finding career mentors, that's what TOTR, that's what we propose to do. It's a bank, as many people that I'll be able to mentor and speak to the next generation. So in the program, if you're not a member of TOTR, go on the website. It's an opportunity for you to actually key into our vision, what exactly we're trying to do for the next generation. Otherwise, we all miss it. As many people, all they just need is that mentoring, that guidance. How can I do it better? It's good that people experience the best teacher, but you can get faster and quicker and safer to where you're going. When you see people who have passed that journey, crossed that journey, and to say, watch out, these are the pitfalls. This is what exactly to watch out for. It makes the journey easier and faster. So finding career mentors, engineering TOTR on the board. So it's not just engineers. You have people in banking. Mr. Adedibu is in banking. I'm in engineering. I think Mr. Adigun is also in HR is there. There's so many of the fellows in TOTR, so that we're trying to provide diverse opportunities for people with different career backgrounds to be able to speak to this next generation and mentor them. So I encourage you to go on the website of TOTR, which I'm sure will be shown at the end of this program. Thank you. So I've answered the question, Mr. Tomepo. Those are the questions that I see on the screen. I do not know, maybe there are other questions. Mr. Gbenga.
Thank you so much, Ma. Those are the questions for now. People have more questions, they will send in through our
website. I'll be free. So my email address is there. My LinkedIn, my Twitter, my LinkedIn, my email addresses are there. Can be seen on my profile.
Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you so much.
I'm available as many. So these days, so after leaving government public service, I still do a lot of work, a lot of consultancy work, trying to shape the infrastructure of this nation. So I'm available to several questions and as many people that we can mentor to get Nigeria better. We all need it. We need it. In the peace of Nigeria lies the peace of everyone.
Thank you so much, Ma. This is very insightful, and I'm sure the video will also be available on YouTube after now, so we can always go back to listen to what you've said, and of course reach out. At Trustees of True Riches, we endeavor to create the platform where young people, most especially, are mentored in the path of life, career-wise. And like Engineer Aramide said, we have all manner of career mentors. We have IT, we have banking, we have HR, we have engineers, we have operations, if you call it a career path. So please kindly register at Trustees of True Riches, and the information is showing at the banner down on your screen, and we will surely reach out to you and then guide you on the registration process. Thank you so much, Ma, for your time. We really appreciate it. We are really grateful, and we hope to have you more on this platform, and of course to engage with the younger generation so that the future is even brighter than what we see now. Thank you so much, Ma.
Thank you everyone. Thank you for listening.
Thank you everyone for joining. Our time is fast spent, so we'll end it here. But please, we are looking forward to your registration so that we reach out to you and then we build a great future together. Thank you everyone for joining. Do have an awesome weekend.
Thank you.